Most people react to life. I create it. Just like many of the most successful business owners, creators, or leaders that we all admire, my mindset wasn't created because of a textbook. It was forged through years of working in between high risk tolerance, endured pain, and self-imposed discomfort, all within the pursuit of a dream that may or may not come true, even with the odds stacked against me. Society rarely encourages people that choose the path of most resistance. But unlike those paralyzed by fear, anxiety, or doubt, there's always been one thing that I've been certain of, that I'd rather live a life sculpted by my own design instead of follow a path eroded by ease. Why? Because if we don't control what we think, then the world controls how we move. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 most important entrepreneurial mindset shifts needed in order to be a successful entrepreneur. Now, the first mindset shift needed in order to become a successful entrepreneur is to prioritize ownership over blame. Blame is like self-imprisonment. Like you put yourself in a cell and then yell out to other people asking if they can release you. It doesn't make sense. Blame is one of the most common and unproductive things that entrepreneurs can do when running a business. It's almost like we're voluntarily choosing to give away our power when we're supposed to be the captain steering the ship to get us safely to land. Whether it's placing blame on people, circumstances, or environment, we're transferring our power and responsibility onto other people and relinquishing our capabilities of creating our desired future because we put it into the hands of others. A lot of us fall into this trap, including myself at points, because it's easier to place blame onto others and not be self-reflective and accountable for the situation that we're in the first place. To be honest, blame is way easier than to be self-reflective. But here's the catch. Blame doesn't move us forward. In fact, it holds us back, especially when running a business. This pattern can only lead to delaying solutions, killing positive momentum, and keeping us stuck in the past. Especially as founders or CEOs, these are not qualities that demonstrate strength and are definitely not the qualities needed to ensure success in the future. When I first started D.Verse Connect, it was imperative that we raise capital so that we were able to bring our vision to the market. I spent a lot of time building pitch decks, business plans, quantitative and qualitative research, and a lot of feedback loops so that I was able to validate why D.Verse Connect has a value add to the market. At the same time, I was enrolled in Columbia University for a full stack development certificate so that I could learn how to build the database, API routes, servers, and everything in between. I had a full-time job as an executive assistant for the executive vice president of Epic Records. I knew that I needed to have a team so that we were able to build the company into what it is today. Because of that, I decided to find a co-founder who can help me within the process. Even though I was wrapping up all my duties when it came to business, legal, software development, marketing, and making sure that I had a full-time job to pay rent and eat food, I knew I needed help in order to build the platform. So while I was doing all of my other responsibilities, I designated the role of raising capital to my co-founder who had a background in investment banking. Although we started off strong, I realized that whether it was his full-time job or just overall commitment to the company, I began to blame my co-founder for not finding any leads or securing any investment because we weren't able to raise as much money in the time that we needed to. We started to create a cycle where instead of talking about where we are in the present and what we will accomplish in the future, we were reflecting on the past, blaming him for the reason we aren't where we should be. The only point when we started to move forward was when I decided to take accountability for my own actions and step up as a leader so that we can reach the goal of bringing our MVP to market by raising the capital needed to do so. The moment that I stopped dwelling on what wasn't done and started focusing on what I could do was when we started to make real traction. And from shifting blame to ownership, I began to own my time to execute our goals. From there, we were able to raise $80,000 so that we could bring D.Verse Connect to the internet and overall farther than where we started. Number 2 on the list of the most important mindset shifts needed to become a successful entrepreneur is to prioritize long-term vision over short-term emotion. Emotion is temporary, but vision is eternal. Feelings are like the wind. They come and they go. But goals are like trees that are rooted in the ground. Even if they need to adapt to their circumstances over time, they still continue to grow up. The reason short-term emotions are so dangerous is because it hijacks our decision-making abilities and live in the moment. When we base our choices on what feels good instead of what's best beyond the moment, we begin to form a loop of instant gratification. Why disrupt my comfort that won't pay off until 10, 20, or even 50 years from now? As humans, we're all wired to prioritize short-term gratification. We naturally lean towards the path path of least resistance, because the future feels abstract, but the present feels urgent and real. A short-term mindset can quietly destroy our foundation. Opposed to thinking in the short term, long-term vision keeps entrepreneurs focused, grounded, and in motion. It's about hyper-analyzing where you currently are, and consciously making decisions today will then compound towards the greater future that we envision. When daily actions align with your future self, every choice you make today becomes a vote for the life that you're building and inevitably will live. In 2019, I was an undergrad at Tulane University, studying marketing and finance with a minor in management and psychology. Outside of my classes, D.Verse Connect was my long-term main pursuit. And at the same time, I had another big idea that I couldn't just let go. Today, the company is called Spaise, a multifunctional Internet of Things product to enhance modern living. In short, it's the combination of a smart speaker, an integrated grinder, and a secure container. But like most 19-year-olds, I didn't have capital, I didn't have a team, and I didn't have a prototype. All I had was an idea and a few friends that said, hey, this is a good idea. Let's be real, everybody has good ideas. But at the same time, everybody that has a good idea rarely enacts on them. People with ideas say, oh, I'll get around to it one day, and then put it onto a mental shelf in their mind. But as life continues to move on, that shelf quickly becomes filled. Then something catastrophic happened. A pandemic hits. The world shut down and panic set in. When we were all inside, I realized that a lot of people had all the time in the world. What some decided to do was develop a new skill, finally read that book that they always wanted to. Some decided to binge Netflix. But for me, I was able to collect my thoughts and determine what my life would be in the future based off of what I do now. Because I had all this time, I decided to pursue Spaise. But I didn't know the first step to bring Spaise to life, especially during a global pandemic. At first, all I did was sketch the idea, find competitors, and begin creating the foundation of building a company that's built around a consumer electronic product. I worked on this for months, and during the time I was also reaching out to a lot of my friends, checking in to see what they were doing. This was one of the best things that I could have done, because along my pursuit of checking the pulse of people in my network during the pandemic, I was able to find a litigation lawyer who was then able to help me build my international patent. Fast forward to February of 2020, I didn't know how I would do it, but I knew that at least if I were able to protect the intellectual property, I would have a 20-year window to then bring the idea to fruition. Fast forward 5 years to 2025, my international patent is filed. I have an A+ team that is helping bring Spaise to the market, and we are currently constructing our vertical global supply chain so that we can bring Spaise to the market. It was the future picture in my mind that shaped the short-term moves that I made. And while others felt stuck or discouraged, I was focused. Because I was clear on where I wanted to be and where I was going, all the chaos became external, and it couldn't throw me off my course. And because of that long-term vision, Spaise is here today. Now, the third entrepreneurial mindset shift needed in order to be a successful entrepreneur is to switch your mindset from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. A mantra that I live by is that I don't fight for crumbs, I build the bakery. What this means is that most people live their lives in a state of fear and limitations. As for me, I operate from a mind frame of creation and expansion. Having a scarcity mindset is like a farmer not planting any seeds because he's afraid of no water being able to water the seeds for the plants to grow. First off, a scarcity mindset is the belief that there are limited resources, leading people to focus on what they lack instead of what they have. People with a scarcity mindset often say things like, there's not enough to go around. I have to protect or save what I already have. If they win, I lose. Avoid risk at all costs. On the other hand, an abundance mindset is the belief that there is enough to go around for everybody, whether it's wealth, opportunities, time, money, and that life offers endless possibilities. People with this type of mindset say things like, there's more than enough to go around as long as we create. I can grow with what I have. If they win, we all win. I'm willing to embrace the risk, and I'm willing to play to win. And especially, we're more focused on possibilities to be successful. If you think of it like this, a scarcity mindset is like having a fork to an all-you-can-eat buffet and saying there's not enough food to go around. Along my entrepreneurial journey, I definitely experienced having a scarcity mindset. I remember when I used to work at Epic Records, surrounded by people who looked like they all had it figured out. They were happy to go to work, excited for what the job would teach them, and were optimistic about their future in the company. But unlike my amazing coworkers, I felt very hollow. I felt like I was boxed in, almost as if I was watching my life inside of a glass cube. Corporate America never sold me a script that I bought into. And as hard as I worked before I graduated college, I was exactly where I didn't want to be, in a cubicle, behind a desk, asking for permission to go outside just to get some fresh air. I felt stuck, and worst off, I felt like a victim. I kept telling myself, I can't be here in the next 10 years. But at the same time, I wasn't making any actions that I knew would bring bring me to living my life as an entrepreneur, traveling where I want, choosing my own working hours, and being able to work with people, not for people. And to make things worse, my environment was surrounded by people with a scarcity mindset. People were saying I had a good job, a good check, and stability. What else could I ask for? And why would I want to mess it up? The Matrix told me that I didn't have enough experience to even bring my ideas to life. But then I realized that if I don't take any proactive steps to change my environment, I'm going to be stuck in a loop of my own disappointment. After I realized the plot of the story that I was scripted into, I decided to change the script by enrolling in a coding bootcamp. And I started to explore the city and find different groups of people that amplified who I am and what I was thinking. When I made that switch in my mind, that was the transition from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. Because instead of accepting the circumstances and saying, this is all I have, I don't have anything else to propel me forward, I decided to look around with what I do have and understand that this is a starting point and I'm able to go farther as long as I put the work in. Scarcity told me that the world was too crowded, but abundance showed me that in order for me to create the world that I wanted, I had to create the world and invite people into the world that I wanted instead of feeling like I don't fit in a world that already existed. The key takeaways from this video are to own your own reality. Don't blame others because you lose control. Protect your vision. If you see into the future, don't let the surrounding world dictate how you respond to it. Make sure that your long-term vision guides your short-term action so that you'll inevitably be where you want to be. And lastly, stay curious. When people feel like there isn't a way out of the immediate circumstances that we're in, it's very hard to see beyond that. But if you have a mindset of abundance, what you have is all you need to get to where you will inevitably go. All right, so I want to thank all y'all for watching the video. Stay tuned for the next. If you found some value, comment one of the 3 mindset shifts that resonated with you most. Peace.